Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dart and as ever I am the IT Geek. Welcome to I did the intro video to this sort of series last a couple of days ago, where I introduced I'm going to start doing some book reviews of like technical book reviews, and I mentioned some of the authors that I will be doing some reviews of their books. Today is the first one, and today I'm going to be reviewing Dwayne Natwick. Dwayne did two books in the last year or so, last 6 months, let's say, last 6 months. Both certification sort of study guides, one for the SC300 and one for the SE900. So today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing the SE300 book. Before I do that, I just want to give a massive thank you to all my subscribers. I finally hit 500 subscribers, which personally for me is a big milestone. Some people might be like, what, 500? That's nothing. For me, it's massive. It's huge. I do appreciate everyone's support. Again, I'm not doing this for that sort of reasons. I do this content because I enjoy it, and I want to try and give back to the community. But it does help that with that motivation when you get that support. So again, thank you for everybody who does subscribe, and for those that don't subscribe, why not? Just hit the button. It's one button. I'm going to try and do more content, especially with these sort of book reviews. I'm quite looking forward to. So this is the first one of those. This is the SC 300 one, as I mentioned. And what I want to try and cover in these reviews, it's not going to be like really in depth. So I'm going to try and cover, a little bit about the author and try and promote them a little bit. A bit of an overview of the book, what it contains, the topics around it. And then really talk about the contents and what my thoughts are about how it's presented. Some of the more, again, without going into a lot of detail really, because I do, the whole point is you buy it yourself and you have a read of it. But I'll try and do an overview of what the contents are and what I feel is good about it and where maybe there could be some improvements in it. So let's get started. As I said, I'm reviewing. This is actual. I've got a physical copy, but I'm going to review Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator Exam Guide, which is for the SE300 by Dwayne Natwick. So big shout out to Dwayne. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share I've got the ebook version of it as well. So for the purpose of this, I'll obviously look at the ebook. A little bit about Dwayne first. So Dwayne is a Microsoft MVP from the States. He's the side of the pond to me. And really, my whole journey within the sort of authoring area came because of Dwayne, and I owe a lot to Dwayne around this because he initially got me involved with, funnily enough, this book, and he reached out to me. So this book is obviously by Pact Publishing, and Dwayne originally reached out to me to be a technical author in this. So one of my stronger points around my knowledge is identity. Done a lot of videos on Azure AD and identity within cloud. So check those videos out as well. He reached out to me around being a technical author, which I was like, oh wow, that'd be such an honor to technically review his book. So I got involved in that project, and from there, Dwayne, I think Pact spoke to Dwayne about, does he have any recommendations for the SC400 book and who could author that? And he recommended me, which was so kind of him, and it just really meant a lot to me. At the time, I was not very confident, if I'm honest with you. We all go through that sort of process. I think people call it imposter syndrome or whatever. So at the time, I wasn't really confident about doing the book on my own, and then I reached out to Victor, and the rest is history. But yeah, I owe a lot to Dwayne with with the books that I authored. So massive thank you to Dwayne. And let's start now. So obviously Dwayne's a Microsoft MVP. He's huge in the Microsoft sort of tech world. Massive inspiration to me as well. And I'm going to find it difficult to critique this book because there are so many good things about it. Again, I was part of I've had in-depth, a look at this book because I was a technical reviewer, so I had to. But if we just start by looking at it, that you find this is with all the Pact books where you have sort of a overview of, who this book's for. And it's for so it's for Microsoft 365 administrators, users, or anyone really who wants to get into identity. It does focus on the identity exam, so the Microsoft 365, the SC300 exam, so it is specific to that. So as far as it does follow a structure, and this is what I'm going to look at now. So there are, I think there's 16 chapters. So yeah, 16 chapters in the book, and essentially what this is actually following the Microsoft certification guidelines. So if you go onto Microsoft website and look for the SC300 book, they'll show you a PDF of the topics that exam covers. from chapter 2 onwards, it essentially just covers those topics. And because it's an exam study guide, I think it's important that it does not veer away from that. It has to keep to that structure because it's for that exam. Some of the other books that we're going to look at from like one that Ryan Mangan done, for example, that is a mastering book. That's not specific to a certification. It does cover the AZ 140 exam. However, it's such more than that. And those are the type of books where you want to do more. You can go quite broad and go into other topics. Whereas this really does need to stick to the exam study guide that Microsoft give, and it does, which is why I think it's a great book. So yeah, it goes through some of the, to get the most out of this book, what do you do? This is very standard sort of pack stuff, this is, but what we're more concerned about is here, like I said, 16 chapters. I'm going to talk about the first chapter, to be honest with you, because the rest of it, if we look at chapter 2, identity and access management, these are all the like I said, the Microsoft exam guide sort of stuff. But this is one thing that isn't. So chapter 1, I'm going to click on this. When I first read this, I was like, oh my God, what an amazing idea. And this inspired me within my book to include something similar. And this isn't part of the Microsoft certification stuff. But what it does is it covers people who have not taken a Microsoft exam before. So it explains what you can do to prepare for your Microsoft exam. There's different ways of doing an exam. So it gives you that. It tells you about the resources that are available. And it walks you through how to create a subscription, goes through the exam objects, and it says, who should take this exam. So this isn't really something that's covered, even though it kind of is covered in Microsoft's website. If you look at the sort of certification guidelines, this isn't really covered in that much detail. So for Dwayne to cover this in a whole chapter, I think is really good. And for me, it's a perfect start to the book. And again, if you're not used to taking Microsoft exams, it gives you all the information about the resources, access to a subscription, where can you take the exam. Look at it as a screenshot of a local test center, online or private access code. So it gives you a lot of information. Again, tells you about the exam format. It's so informative, this first chapter, and this kind of inspired me and Victor to put something similar in our book, and we did. So to start with, personally, I think this is a really good chapter 1, and especially for those people who have not taken an exam before. So kudos to Dwayne for again, he might have got inspired by somebody else, I don't know. But this is definitely a great chapter to start off with. So well done to Dwayne on that. One thing I will say about this book is it has a very, very wide range of, very easy in books. Again, talking from personal experience, very easy to books. You just get caught up in doing loads of, information and loads of theory. This book shows a lot of, try and click on a different chapter, for example. Oh, that's not a chapter, that is my, let's try and go for a different chapter. Where is it? Oh, I don't know my way around packs, unfortunately. Maybe it's on this side. Yeah, here we go. So if we just go to chapter, let's just go to chapter 2, for example. So what this book really does well, it mixes up theory and real life activities. So again, look, it does this by doing screenshots. And this is one thing, again, when I was doing technical reviews of this book, I found it so easy to read. And it was because there were things like screenshots that can literally walk you through what you need to do. And there's so many good and useful labs in this whole book. And again, I'm going back to my own experience. Having this experience with Dwayne and being a technical reviewer on this book helped motivated me to how I wanted my book to look and how me and Victor wanted our book to look. So it's not just theory, it's not just writing, it's not just text and text and text. There are diagrams to help explain things. There are, again, as well as text, there are tables, there are labs, and it gives you a bit of a summary as well about what is covered. And you go to the next chapter. And again, if we go to section 2, it tells you what's covered in section 2. There's obviously 3, 4, 5, and chapter 6. And it's the same throughout each chapter. It's just the same sort of format. It goes through a bit of text, a bit of theory, and then a lab. So it breaks up that learning for people. And that's key, I think, when you're doing learning. You don't want to just be reading because it can get difficult. You want that sort of format where you can complete some labs, you can look at some images, and it just helps soak it all in. So personally, I love that about this book, and this is the theme throughout the book. There's a great mixture of labs, tables, documentation, links to URLs where you can get more information. So definitely one thing I love about this book, and it inspired me really, if I'm honest with you. So well done to Dwayne on that. So like I said, the contents of the book are very same in all the chapters. You know, you have a mixture of theory, labs, a lot of lab work, which is great because you need that hands-on experience at the associate level, and this SC300 exam is at the associate level. Now, one thing that I find really good is, so personally when I'm studying, when I've done my labs, when I've learnt my theory, I'm like, right, I really need to test myself. How can I do that? Lo and behold, there's a mock test, and in chapter 6, Dwayne has done a whole mock. So there's 80 questions, which is a lot of questions. And again, they're not like, so again, they won't be very similar to the Microsoft format, but they are testing your knowledge all the same. So it's difficult, I think, in a book to really get that Microsoft format of questions. All you can really do is multiple choice, and within this, they're all multiple choice questions, which I think are great. And yeah, it would be difficult to do the sort of Microsoft format of, of drop boxes and drag and drop. How can you do that in a book? You just can't. So I think the fact there's 80 questions that test your knowledge. There are knowledge checks after, at the end of, at the end of the book. And it's just great. Like I said, there's 80 questions, so you've got a vast variety of different topics all throughout the book, and you can test yourself at the end. So this is another thing that I really like about this book, as far as, once you've done all the understanding, you've learned it, you've done the labs, it's like, right, okay, I want to really test my knowledge. Where can I find an exam? Bang, here it is. So it's a mixture of multiple choice and true or false questions. It's another great way to finish the book, with a way to test yourself. Highly recommend the book, obviously. Now, I'll be honest, I struggled to find anything negative in the book because, it just doesn't veer away. It doesn't veer away at all from that structure, that Microsoft certification structure. It's rigid. It needs to be rigid. This type of book needs to be rigid, whereas the sort of, I'll go into more detail when I talk about those books, but the ones that are mastering books, the two mastering books that we're going to look at, the Endpoint Manager and the Azure Virtual Desktop book, you don't need that with those books. You don't need to have that sort of, rigid structure, because with this, you're talking about an exam. So all in all, honestly, I massively, massively highly recommend this book. It's a great read, and again, if you are looking to prepare for the SC300 exam, I think this is going to help you massively. Again, it goes into stuff about Microsoft Learning there, so you need to do the Microsoft Learn stuff as well, because it recommends that in the book. But all in all, Dwayne's done an amazing job, and this particular book was massively inspiring for me to work with Victor on the SC400 book. So this is a very special book for me, and Dwayne is a very special person to me as well, because like I say, I feel like he helped me with my whole authorship journey. So in the description, I'm going to put a link to the Amazon page for this book, so you can go and buy it. Highly recommend it. I am going to have Dwayne as well on a podcast at some point to talk about the book later on in the series. But yeah, really kudos to Dwayne. It's been a really good book. It's got some great level of detail without being boring, if I'm honest with you. If you go into too much detail, sometimes you might think, oh God, this is boring. But it covers everything for the exam, honestly, and in a great level of detail. And there's no part of the exam that's not covered in it. And I said there's loads of labs in it, which I love. I'm very hands-on, loads of labs in it. So very much recommend it. Yeah, that's really I'm going to try and keep these short and an overview, because I really want people to read these books themselves. So well done to Dwayne. Thank you for watching. Please, if you're not subscribed, do subscribe. Go buy Dwayne's book. I'll put all his socials as well on the description. But thank you for watching, and until next time, thank you and goodbye.